So we got a history, because I think it's important to understand the history, the perspective of the person that's, going to be in charge, going to be making some rules, and how do you position yourself as the average Canadian to make some good financial choices based on that. So
Fair enough.
Mark Carney, born in 1965 in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories. So
Wow.
Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, for those of you who don't know, way the heck up in the hinterlands there. So 11 hours and 52 minutes from the, thriving metropolis of Edmonton. So I've made that drive. I have made that drive before.
That sounds awful.
I have driven that. Yeah, it's like, imagine driving for 3 hours and not passing another vehicle. Like, once you get up here, like 3 hours at 100 kilometers an hour, and you never pass anyone. Like, there's no one oncoming. There's no one behind you. It's just nothing. Absolutely nothing. You get to the, the Wood Buffalo National Park up there, and, you go to the Visio Center, and they jump up. They look like they're surprised that someone's come in to visit them. So it's a nice place, right? It's a nice place, but there's if you like urban environments, it's not the place. But I have made that drive before. So.
Very not urban environment.
Yes.
Very rustic.
Yes, so that is, that's where the beginning was. Then in 1971, why the heck does this date keep popping up? But in 1971, Mark Carney moves to Edmonton, 6 years old. Parents moved him to Edmonton. So his parents were school teachers. Well, I think when he was first born, his mother was a stay-at-home mom. She goes back to school to become a school teacher. Dad was a school teacher, later becomes a principal. And so that's the background. I think that's important, right? And so it's someone who's born in a really small town in Northwest Territories, and then grows up in Edmonton, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So not much different than you and me. So growing up in Edmonton, right? So, and from there, Mark Carney goes to Harvard. Now, how does a kid from Edmonton go to Harvard?
That's interesting.
Yeah. So
maybe we should take a look and see how he got into Harvard.
So what does Harvard have, what does Harvard possibly need from an Edmonton kid? So what does Harvard need from an Edmonton kid? Well, for those of you who don't know, Harvard has a hockey team. So Harvard has a hockey team, and Mark Carney was a goalie. Carney was a goalie. Now,
not just any goalie.
Mark Carney was Harvard's backup goalie.
Third string backup goalie.
So, some of you know, and there's nothing wrong, like being like an extra player on a college team. Like, I know that role, so I know that role well. But for those of you who have played hockey out there, there's like the regular team, which, some people who don't play hockey might find them strange enough. And then there's the goalie. So even the regular team, who normal people might think the regular team is kind of weird. Trust me, normally the people on the regular team think the goalie is they're kind of strange. They're kind of strange because, in order to do that position, it's like, yeah, I'm going to put on this equipment, and these guys are going to rifle pucks at my head for the rest of my life. Let's try that job. This is the one I want to go with, right? So it's a special individual who chooses to be the goalie. And then beyond that, you have the normal person who's not a hockey player, and then you have the people who play hockey, and then you have the goalie. One level beyond that, you have the backup goalie. So the backup goalie is like, hey, I wanted to try this position where people might rifle pucks at my head, but I might just sit on the bench for long periods of time and not actually do anything at all. So it's a special individual, and it's difficult to describe to anybody who's never played the game before and seen the day in, day out of a hockey team, especially a competitive hockey team, and the makeup of the goalie and the backup goalie. So
does the third string goalie even need to show up to practice? Just a question. Or do they just rifle pucks at his head while they're doing warm-ups?
Well, that's actually when you see the third stringer, if you rifle a puck up at the first stringer and you hurt the first stringer, man, you're in trouble. You're benched there, right? But man, if you want to practice your new howitzer and that new, stick that you got, and you want to rifle one of the third stringers, like it's probably gonna be okay. So, so here is, very important. You're only going to see this here. You will not see this on the CBC. Is Mark Carney's hockey DB at Harvard University.
Right, that's
one game, 6 minutes played at Harvard. So, how does that?
You know what? No goals against.
No goals against. Like hockey DB in that place, it's probably underestimating the number of times and stuff that he was in there, but that's just the nature of hockey DB. But like you've seen it here first. This is the only news source where we're actually going to pull up Mark Carney's hockey DB.
There you go. You guys should screen capture it.
Yeah,
this is legendary.
That is what we have.
Do we have his rookie card?
We do not have a Mark Carney rookie card. So, and then Mark Carney graduates Harvard with a bachelor's degree in economics, 1988. Okay, so he moves to Edmonton, 1971, 6 years old. Then he goes to Harvard. How he gets there, he makes the hockey team, gets a partial scholarship, gets some financial aid. Like that's the path into Harvard. So, and from there he graduates 1988 with a bachelor's degree in economics. Okay, and then he starts at Goldman Sachs in about 1990. Okay, so he is a banker from day one. From day one, he is a banker. Okay, and while he's working at Goldman Sachs, he's simultaneously pursuing his master's degree. And if this is where we get some conflict, because when you look online on Wikipedia, it says economics philosophy. So I don't know which one it is. Is it economics or is it philosophy? But, in other sources, it's just listed as just economics. So he gets a master's degree from Oxford in economics. And from there also gets a doctorate's degree from Newfield College in 1995. So 1993, the master's degree, and whether it's economics or philosophy, in 1995, again, whether it's economics or philosophy from Newfield College. But it looks like he's simultaneously at that point working for Goldman Sachs.
So do we address him as Dr. Prime Minister? Is that what we do? No, I'm not sure. I'm confused on how to address him now because he's got his doctorate. So he's a doctor.
I mean,
kind of like Dr. Jill Biden.
Yeah, Dr. Jill Biden. Yeah, that's about the doctor that we're talking about here. So, and he stays in that job at Goldman Sachs. He had a role in the South African bond market. So
Ooh.
I'm sure that they are an amazingly strong currency, and everyone knows about the economic prowess of South Africa. But he was an instrumental role apparently in the South African bond market. So that's interesting. From there, he leaves Goldman Sachs to become the deputy governor of the Bank of Canada in 2003. Okay, so 2003, he leaves Goldman Sachs to become the deputy governor of Bank of Canada. Okay, and works his way up the ranks. And in 2008, he is the governor of Bank of Canada. So he is appointed as the governor of the Bank of Canada.
Okay. So he's governor of the Bank of Canada. What is the role of the governor of the Bank of Canada? What do they do?
I mean, they basically chair the meetings that decides the monetary policy of the country. What is going to be the interest rates? What is going to be, are we going to have quantitative easing or quantitative tightening? What are going to be some of the banking regulations? So they're steering the ship in the monetary policy.
So he's got his finger on the button for the printing machine.
That's right.
That's his role.
That is right.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And it's in no way connected with the Prime Minister of Office, right?
Yeah, it's arm's length for the Prime Minister, but the Prime Minister appoints the Finance Minister, and the Finance Minister, appoints the search committee who does the headhunt for the Bank of Canada governor, and the Prime Minister can fire them all. So but it's arm's length. But just trust us, bro. It's arm's length. So it's an arm's length position from the Prime Minister. So, and then from there, we get Mark Carney's first documented attendance at the World Economic Forum. So 2008, when nobody becomes governor, it's his first documented attendance at the World Economic Forum. It's not likely his first time attending the World Economic Forum. 13 years at Goldman Sachs, he was probably there, but like he's recorded as speaking in 2008. So, that's the main business conference. For those of you, watching out there, it's like, we hope that you come to our business conference because you might not be able to afford the tickets to the World Economic Forum. So ours is the second best one on planet Earth. That's what we're going to say.
That's right. So, I mean, if you really want to get, the inside
the real
scoop,
info,
the real inside track onto
the real
investing
conference.
and hobnobbing with the rich and famous and really networking with the world's elite, that's Davos. Second best. Ours. That's right.
Yeah. So, and then he is appointed the chairman of the Bank of International Settlements. So this is 2010, appointed chairman of the Bank of International Settlements Committee on Global Financial Systems. Okay. Then from there, we have the first documented attendance for Mark Carney in 2011 at the Bilderberg Group.
The question is, when did he go from like what was his thesis on? Have we talked about what his thesis was about?
Yeah, I mean, when he started out, his thesis was on competition. And so his doctoral thesis was on competition. And, from there, you see the pivot, after the influence of Goldman Sachs and the World Economic Forum and the Bilderberg Group, and all of a sudden it's Mark Carnage, dark carnage, as some of them call to, of the end of civilization, and we need to spend $100 trillion to stave off global warming, right? $100 trillion. We're not making this up. Like $100 trillion. This is some of the words that they've said it. So, but Trevor, really interesting. We have exclusive. You've told me that you have found exclusive footage of Mark Carney's first visit to the Bilderberg Group. Is this true, Trevor?
Yeah. I mean, it took me a while to do some deep diving and searching, but a little bit of searches on the dark web. We've drummed something up, and I believe this is the actual footage from Mark Carnage's first visit to the Bilderberg Group. Let's get going on that. Seems a bit scary.
Interesting. Do you think they're talking about quantitative easing or quantitative tightening at this point? That means that's the interest rates going down. I'm sure that's the interest rates going down, right? That is the interest rates going down.
And something about climate change. So that smoke there
represents the climate change.
Yes.
If they drop the interest rates, okay, I get it. So you see, like we found the footage for everyone out there who's wondering what happens at the Bilderberg Group. We've shown it to you. That's how they decide the interest rates, the monetary policy, the interest rates going down. So that's, you've seen it here first. The only footage of Mark Carney's first, attendance at the Bilderberg Group in 2011. Okay. Then in 2011, he's also named the chairman of the Basel Financial Stability Board, okay, for determining international rules that banks should follow, okay? And then in 2013, he resigned as governor of the Bank of Canada to become governor of the Bank of England.
Ooh, so, going from the B team to the A team, going to the major leagues.
Moving up in the world.
Getting closer to the royal family there.
That's right. He resigned his post, too. So I believe he was slated to be there till 2015 or 2018. But he officially resigned to take that appointment, okay? And then, strangely enough, you take that appointment, and what does the World Economic Forum do? In 2013, he's appointed to the World Economic Forum Group of 30 Leading Financiers. Whoa. Group of 30 leading financiers.
That does not sound ominous at all.
No, not ominous. And then who do the world's leading financiers hang out with? So in 2013, who was one of their best buddies? So this is unlike the unlike Trevor's, unverified footage of the Bilderberg Group, this one is verified of Mark Carney there in 2013 at the UK Music Festival, and it's our the financier herself, Ghislaine Maxwell. So just hanging out, chumming. They look pretty friendly, and Mark Carney's wife right there to the right, and so
also
that's
an
where
economist.
Also an economist for sure. Yeah.
So they're all hanging out together. 2013. He's what is that called? The group of 30.
Yeah.
And so Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah. Okay. So I mean that is a documented photo from 2013, not under dispute. Unlike some of the other ones might be altered, this one is verifiable. So in 2020, Mark Carney finishes his term as the governor of the Bank of England and becomes the Brookfield vice chair of the board. Okay, so that's in 2020. Nice pivot. We give you a nice vice chair of the board of Brookfield. Okay. And then also in 2020, multiple reports that Carney starts informally advising Trudeau back to 2020. And this is where, isn't this a nice role? Isn't this a nice role where you're in charge of you're the vice chair of a board, but you're also informally advising the government. And so this is where I tell...
Where was Brookfield headquartered at that time?
Canada.
Coincidentally.
It was Canada at
coincidentally.
that time. Canada in 2020.
So he's
Canada.
Chairman of the board of Brookfield Investment Management, and he's also advising Trudeau.
Yes.
Nothing sus about that at all.
Yes.
Nothing sus.
And
that is straight above board. Nothing suspicious going on there.
This is where maybe I got it wrong on investment theses when coming out of university, and you just think it's set by the markets, and then you realize that some market players have so much more influence than others, and so trying to time the market and trying to pick the best ideas is often not as profitable as picking the companies with the most power and influence. And that's what we teach people at the boot camp is how do you actually make some money from those companies with the most power and influence, knowing that the world's run by the bankers anyways, people. So, but we keep going. We keep going. Okay. So, and then in 2022, he becomes the chairman of the board of directors of Brookfield. Okay, so he had his apprenticeship for 2 years there and becomes chairman of the board of directors. And then he is officially named in 2024. While he's the chairman of the board of directors of Brookfield, he's officially named the chair of the Liberal Party's Task Force on Economic Growth. So unofficially advising Trudeau since 2020. Officially advising him with an official appointment in 2024. So just imagine that. It's like you're making investment decisions and you're also able to influence the people who create the rules that change the trajectory of those investments, right?
Yes, and I'm pretty sure it's been confirmed. I'd have to check the source, so maybe confirmed, unconfirmed, but Mark Carney during the trucker convoy protest, when people were wanting to get their freedoms, restrictions from travel and going across the border, and being able to go to the gym and movies and all that kind of stuff. I believe it was Mark who was the one who advised Chrystia Freeland on seizing the bank accounts of the truckers and taking the funds that were donated with GiveSendGo and GoFundMe. Weird.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Just see some accounts, right? Just see some accounts from the peasants. So and then in 2024, Brookfields decide, while Mark Carney is the chair, to relocate to the U.S. while he was still the chair. That's been flushed out enough on some other podcasts and other sources at this point, but it was pretty clear. Documents are signed in 2024 when he's still the chair. And then in 2025, up to today, he resigns as the chairman of Brookfield to be run to become the leader, to become the Prime Minister of Canada. I'm having trouble saying it, but
he was selected as the Prime Minister of Canada. So out of 400 some thousand people who registered to vote in this last Liberal leadership election, 159,000 approximately voted. And of that, he got 85.6% of the vote in the first round. So
Yes.
he won hands down. No second, third, fourth rounds. I mean, it's mathematically amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is where I tell people, it's like the system is run by the bankers, and the system is designed to move the money from the people who do the work and save to the people who borrow money effectively to invest. Okay. And we cannot find a more clear example of, the system is run by the bankers. In this case, they've actually just cut out the middleman. They put the banker just directly in charge of the whole thing, just for efficiency. Might as well. Just save some lobby dollars to do it, right?
Exactly. So, he no longer has to be head of the Bank of Canada. He's just right there. The central banker is now the Prime Minister of Canada.
We're just going to put them right front and center, right, on it. So, the key is, and you would think that this is just limited to the Liberal Party. And I tell people, it's like there's no party in Western politics that's not heavily influenced, if not directly controlled by the banking industry. It's like, even like for those, they might be, some Americans, they love Trump, right? They just love Trump, and they're all about Trump. It's like, did you ever ask the question how Trump didn't go bankrupt ever? Like, did you ever ask the question like he didn't? Like, I know some of his companies went bankrupt. I know that, right? But like, how did he continue to find financing? It's like, do you think he's 100? Do you think you build that enormous real estate portfolio and you are not at all influenced by bankers? Like, do you really, is that the real, like, beyond the MAGA, like, do you really think that, do you really think Poilievre is going to shut down the Bank of Canada and we're going to come to a different regime if it does happen? It's like,
I don't think so, Josh. I don't think that's going to happen. Poilievre, he's a pollster. He watches what the polls are doing. He goes whichever the wind is blowing. He's an opportunist at best. Will it be a change for good? I don't know, man. Yeah. We'll see.
This is the system. The system is run by the bankers, which, like, I mean, it kind of sucks, but you're not going to change it. But you have to understand how the banking system works, how the increase in the monetary supply is going to work, and how it doesn't matter who you elect. Who you elect is only going to decide the speed at which it increases, but the direction, we know where we're going. The ship, you're not turning this ship around, okay?